I can only look forward with anticipation. That's giving me hope. That's the main thing, because at Christmas I was cooking a meal for my family, and ended up I couldn't cook. I couldn't do anything.
John, how did you find Carnivore?
I prayed. Going back last Christmas just gone, I was in a real bad state and I wasn't getting any better. Um, so I thought I'd see how it goes and talk to him up there and see if he can help me. And he has. He did, which is awesome. Going back last July, I can go back 2 stages and go back right to the beginning. And I got my recent, 5 years or so. So briefly, I've made a few notes. Briefly, I've been ill all my life, on and off. And long and short of it is, I found out in 2019 that I got Lyme disease. I don't know if you know anything about Lyme, but it's the symptoms of Lyme are virtually the same as MS, so they're indistinguishable. And many people I feel who have been diagnosed as MS have really got Lyme disease. But it's so long story and so complicated, so I won't bore you with the details. But looking back, and I've only found out in 2019 that I have Lyme disease. Looking back through my life, I've probably had it for most of my life, if not all of it. You can actually, you can get it congenitally in the womb. You can get it from partners. It's not just the bite of a tick that tell us all about, and be careful when you go in the woods. Lyme disease is spread in all manner of ways and is far more prevalent. Far more people have got it than they realise or admit. And actually, it has the same symptoms as MS, as mental illness, as arthritis, as dementia. I can go on and on. It's the most underdiagnosed disease or condition. Alan MacDonald, he's an American pathologist recently, he's only died a couple of years ago, I believe, but he was able to take samples of brains of people who had died with MS, who died with dementia, cut slices and study them under the microscope, and he found spirochetes, which are the bacterial form. It's Borrelia burgdorferi, the actual bacterium is called, and it's in the form of a spiral corkscrew, burrows through the body. It can affect you. It can affect you neurologically, so it can burrow into your spinal cord and into your brain. It leaves the blood very quickly after the tick has done its deed. It can migrate through all tissues. You can get to your bones, you can get to joints, you can get to your brain, you can get into your spinal cord. And he found evidence of Borrelia in every sample that he took from his job at the morgue, I think, or wherever he worked in a research department in America. But he was a very clever lad. Up to now, a lot of what he's found has been largely disregarded. So anyway, back to my original story. When I was young, very young, I used to get symptoms of Lyme as I see it. I used to be very bright lights used to affect me, loud sounds. I was very nervous and anxious. I was actually diagnosed with various mental problems, which sort of was an anchor on my life for the first till I was in my 20s. Then I went through varying stages of improving and getting ill again, which I didn't know at the time and nobody could help me with. And you go on a journey, don't you? Recent years, that journey in the early 90s actually. It took me through until when I was in college, and I got particularly badly ill in the early 90s. It started to get worse, and it became a major impediment to my life. And I found out I couldn't study. The balance started to go. I'm getting bad headaches. My joints started to ache. I used to, arthritis. Um, Kept falling over. Fell off a mountain. I fell off my motorbike in Argentina. Um, and by 2019, I'd been studying, watching YouTube videos, and realised that I must have Lyme because all the symptoms that I had were identical. So what I had to do is I had to get tested, which isn't an easy thing to do apparently. Um, I ended up spending quite a lot of money getting the blood tested in a German or Austrian laboratory, which came back inconclusive apart from one, I think it's CD57 test, which just indicated that all my killer fighter cells were depleted, virtually gone. So that is an absolute marker for Lyme. I started off wondering what to do, and then just before COVID, I had COVID very badly in 2019, in December, and again in January 2020. But that was just at the time I was embarking upon a course of treatment, which was basically herbs. There's a guy called Stephen Booner, an American, um, and he was basically the world's expert on herbal treatment. So I bought a book by Bill Rawls, Dr. Bill Rawls, an American, and he explained the protocol and what you should take. And started off, it was reasonably successful. I certainly improved mentally. My anxiety diminished, and I was able to function. Well, I mean, I've been able to function all the way through. I've got a business which allows me to basically work part time, but I was able to carry on through it. I finally found out about a clinic in Scotland, Napier's, well, they've got departments in Glasgow and Edinburgh. Lovely people. I was able to consult with a specialist, and she was able to tweak and trim my herbal potions, as it were. And they did seem to have a positive effect all around. It wasn't a good total cure, but I felt it was helping me. At that time, and from there onwards, I started to develop more serious symptoms. So I had the joints and the muscles, peripheral neuropathy, eye problems, ear problems. Got something going on behind the left eye, which is affecting my vision. Also, my hearing. I'm deaf in one ear, and that affects my balance. But my balance got worse, and I started falling over. Like I said, I fell off a mountain previously, fell off a bike. That was just the start. That was going back to the 2010, 2015. By 2019, it was getting much more serious. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even stand properly without, clasping onto something. So the joints were starting to seize up. I was just falling over. And then by, when was it, 20? Well, I fell over a couple of times quite badly. Once in the kitchen floor, that tile floor in the kitchen. I just spun round to put something on the sink. Flat on my back, bang, just like that. I couldn't understand why. And then the worst I had was last July, and I fell out down the back steps at home, concrete steps, and quite a height. It's about 6, 7 foot high flight of stairs. Broke my arm at the top there, just underneath the shoulder, and ended up in hospital getting it patched up. Unfortunately, they didn't clean the wound on my elbow properly, so it turned septic. So it turned into a bit of an ordeal. And this was sort of by September, October, I should have been getting better, but it was taking a lot longer. During all this time, my Lyme just got worse to the extent that I couldn't even walk to the kitchen from the front room without feeling terribly tired and just lacking the ability to put one foot in front of the other. So terribly nervous upstairs. I had to come down the stairs backwards. And then we arrived at last Christmas. I was really in quite a state because I had all this. I was hoping to get better, get out to work again, but I just couldn't even stand up. So that's the time I asked for help, and within a couple of days, I automatically found Carnivore. I don't know exactly the course of events, but you were one of the videos I started watching, and Anthony Shafee and Ken Berry and all the famous names, and everything they said made sense. And so I thought, right, I'm starting on Carnivore. I started on January the 4th, and I'm on this is day 46. And boy, what a difference.
By day 46, I mean, what's happened? What's improved for you?
Okay, well, my sleep's improved. My complexion has changed. I've gone from a very pallid to somewhat pinky. And my skin condition has improved as well. I was getting all these sores and spots and all sorts. They've all cleared up more or less. I can walk. I can walk outside. I used to have I'm a work in progress, Dave. I'm still fighting something, but I feel I've got the upper hand now. Mentally, I've improved tremendously. I've got clarity of mind. My brain fog's gone. I can stand up. I can balance just about. It's not quite reached the stage where I can stand on one leg for more than a few seconds, but I can feel it's there. It's coming. So, other than that, a lot more energy. That was one thing and a lot stronger. I can feel my muscles because being off with a broken arm, not doing exercise, I was starting to waste away quite a lot. Now I can stoop down and pick things up. I can light the fire. I've got a coal fire, so that entails, kneeling down and lugging coal, obviously, and stuff like that. I can do a day's work almost, around the house. I can do my housework and wash the dishes also without getting tired. So I can function again, basically.
That's awesome.
That's what I say, yeah.
That's amazing. So, when you say like I can walk, can you paint a picture about prior to January 4 and now what is the difference with your walking, like thinking about things like flexibility or joint pain or speed or these kind of things?
Well, I mean, 6 months ago, I'll be walking just about before I broke my arm. Watching you last night with Kerry, the way you described the sort of ministry of funny walks down the road, very much like that. No control over my left leg. Like it would sometimes do things that I didn't want it to do. So the intention was there, but the motor ability of my left leg wasn't there. So I would stumble around basically like a drunk. I'd be going one direction and I'd veer off and go in another direction. Ultimately, I'd get to my destination, but it was a bit traumatic. And now I can just walk slowly and surely. I can put my foot on the ground, and I know it's going to stay there. Whereas before, it would suddenly jerk off one way or the other. Same as MS. You see, really, it's basically the same mechanism in the body that is hampering you, the communication between your brain and your nerves. And you've got, as regards balance, you've got three forms of balance in the human body. The first is what we call proprioception, which is the nerves talking to your brain automatically, telling the brain where your foot is in space or where your arm is in space. That's the first thing you lose if you've got Lyme disease or MS. The second is your semicircular canals, which work quite a bit slower than your nerves. And then the final form of balance is your eyes, because you can obviously see where you're going and make adjustments. But that's in terms of, less than a second. But your proprioception, your inbuilt sort of means of knowing where you are in space, that just disappears. As your nerves repair, which I'm hoping is going to be the case, certainly with Lyme patients and MS patients, they say that you never get the ability, but there's a continual deterioration over time. And Parkinson's, that's another one. Poor old Billy Connolly, he's gone down that road, hasn't he? But what happens on this diet, I think, is that it's the fat content which is repairing the myelin sheath, which surrounds all our nerves. And what happens with Lyme is that the spirochetes actually eat, because they love the fat, they eat the protective coating on the myelin sheath, and they get into your nervous system and do damage, eat you up, basically. And it's potluck where they end up, because, the human body's a vast place for a little teeny weeny bacteria in it, but they can hide, the spirochetes, they can curl up into a ball. They can also hide under a biofilm, so that if you get a blood test, it can be worthless. It can be negative or false positive, actually, as well, but that's another matter. But I went to the doctor because I had a bullseye rash, as they call it, which is like what's on the side of an RAF plane. It's a circle, like a dartboard, basically, which is a sign of, even in 2009, I was aware of what it was. So I thought, better go to the doctor, get checked out. I was feeling okay, and he gave me a dose of a course of antibiotics, doxycycline, which is very inadequate. And it doesn't really work. It can slow it down a little bit. What you should have is a much higher dose than I had for far longer. I'm talking months. To have any chance of killing the bacteria. If you don't kill it, you transfer, it changes into what we call long Lyme, which is sort of similar to long COVID, really. It's just, it stays in the body, it breathes, it spreads over a period of years. This is what I've had, I'm pretty sure. So I'm very positive as regards the carnivore diet because of the fat content, apart from anything else. That's helping. Well, it is already. I can feel it. It's helping because I've got the use of my arms and legs back, which is a major blessing. So yeah, I can only look forward with anticipation. That's given me hope. That's the main thing, because at Christmas I was cooking a meal for my family, and ended up I couldn't cook. I couldn't do anything. My son cooked the meal for us, and I can remember I was just hopping between the kitchen and the back room. I had to go and sit down. So the difference between then and now, chalk and cheese. I'm functioning, and I'm hoping to go back to work within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I guess, which is going to be
That's
major.
that's great. And I think the I don't think we focus on this kind of thing enough, but
Mm,
like you mentioned hope, and it's like
mm.
it's not about how well you're feeling at the moment. It's that if you feel like there is no hope, I mean that's just like that's the despair that comes from that is just awful, right? It's just
You've
all
been there, have
consuming.
you?
Well, you know, I guess when you go back to the stroke times, like they
Mm.
found an operation that could fix me, but the operation that fixed me was still under research. So when I had the first operation and
Okay.
that failed, you know, in 1992,
All right.
they couldn't just jump on the internet and find, oh, what's happening now in this area, right? So I woke up after I don't know how many days sleep in intensive care to find out that the first operation was, you know, failed. And that feeling of there's
Uh,
nothing is, you know,
yeah. I know,
sorry,
Dave.
sorry to do that to you. I know this is your interview, but yeah,
No, no, no. You let it flow, man. It's
yeah,
exactly. I mean, I should have omitted to say I had a stroke too. Back in 2018, that was the first indication, really, but I didn't realise it, you know. But in 2018, I had a TIA, which is a bleed. Um, but again, looking back, it's the damage that's being done to the myelin sheath, in my opinion, which does have a hope of repairing. So, it's yeah. When you're down there, when you're at the bottom of the pit looking up, it's a long, long way to crawl, to climb, to get back up, and you lose sight of the what can be. You can you find it difficult to imagine another you, another state of being. This is why it's so
yeah,
important. I mean, depression is everywhere these days, and people are in such a state, and they've got nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to. And that's what gets me because there's so much misinformation out there. There's so many people telling people, oh, it's only this, it's only that. Eat loads of bread, eat loads of veggies, and you'll be okay. It's so sad. This is why I think what you're doing, and Ken Berry and Dr. Chaffee, and the spreading of information. I'm trying to be part of it in my own little way. Limited, I suppose, in my abilities, but um, getting the message out there and telling people, yes, there is hope and there is a future, and it doesn't have to be like this. You know, and finding carnivore is amazing because it's such an easy diet. It's so um, mechanically, the logistics of it is so easy.
yeah,
Shopping's easy. That's okay.
yeah. And on that point, um, for 46 days, how has your eating pattern been, and how difficult was it to, you know, make the change on January 4?
To be honest, Dave, I didn't find it difficult at all. Um, possibly, I mean, I slid into it. I didn't give up everything straight away because there's people who said that's probably not the best way to do it. You know, um, I'd already done keto when I had the stroke in 2018. I told the doctor, the specialist, he came into the ward in the hospital, and with his crew, he had a crowd of people with him, all students, arrogant fella. he started talking about statins and stuff like that, and diets and whatever. And I said, I don't do drugs, doctor. And he didn't like that one little bit. In the end, he stormed out of the room. I took my iPad with me to hospital when I was studying. I found Dave Asprey and his Bulletproof Coffee and a few other contemporary diet advocates, and decided to go onto the keto diet because that was seen to be the logical way forward. And at the time, I'd cut carbs and I was trying to eat protein and make bulletproof coffee, which I've not had a sip out of yet. But you know, with butter and MCT oil in it, it's good stuff. So, I mean, I'd already done that, so it wasn't difficult to port over, knowing the principles, you know, whatever. I'd already found out about lectins as well, which was a help. But I soon cottoned on to oxalates. I mean, the whole business of plants poisoning you and veggies and fruit, obviously, for the sugar. So, I mean, sugar was the big thing that back in 2018, I decided was probably not very good. But with all that happened to me and breaking my arm and the last 6 months, or last 7 months now, I'd been eating really badly. I'd been having, you know, spinach. I thought was good for you, and you know, eating too many things containing flour. But I didn't find it too difficult to pack in and just eat meat. When I started working it all out, it was going to be cheaper to buy steak than all the other rubbish. And so since then, it's just been a learning curve, finding out about what's bad for you and what you should have and what you shouldn't have. Still take milk. I still drink milk. I don't know whether I should whether I should do or not. Coffee, still not too sure about either. But I'll have 2 meals a day. I'll have probably bacon and eggs, and then I'll have a steak at night, or I might just have 1 meal a day. Because it satiates you so well, this diet, I find that I can go all day without noticing, without requiring anything, you know. When I get to night time, I'll have a meal, 6, 7 o'clock, something like that. No
It's such an
snacking.
awesome feeling, right? To just be able to eat 1 or 2 meals a day and then never think about food again, right?
Yeah, I haven't tasted it before when I was in ketosis, because I did actually manage to get into ketosis when I was on the ketogenic diet, but not very often. So I knew what it was like. And I think over the years, because of my job, um, I tended not to eat, not to drink at all, because I drive a van. I'm an ice cream man. Drive a van around my patch, Anglesey, and yeah, I tended to go all day and then eat, which I could do, you know. So actually, the carnivore diet is really easy to do, and again with alcohol, it's easy to stave off the cravings.
What's your feeling now about the future? You know, like, what do you think is going to happen, or how do you think things are going to be? I don't know, by the end of the year.
Well, I think the most important part is my physical ability to walk and to do stuff and to lift buckets and heavy items and actually do. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to be at work, but I'll find out in the next couple of weeks. I do quite long days. I do 5, 6, 7 hours on the road at a time. Longer in the summer, I can do up to 9, 10 hours in the summer. But yeah, I've got a clear picture in my head now. Um, I've just got to carry on forward, because been in this job now for 48 years. In fact, I've got written across the back of my van, what was it? 46 years. That was when I had the van made, built. So I've told everybody I'm going to go at least till I'm 50. So I'm going to have my 50th anniversary in 2025. And I've got all these hundreds and thousands of kids on the island, here on Anglesey who I can't let down. That's the picture I got in the head. So I'm just going to keep going.
If there's someone out there that is in a similar kind of situation, they're struggling, but this, I mean, as we talked about, this kind of Lyme disease or something like MS, it can be overwhelming. Because
sure,
just so many things go wrong. So like someone that's thinking, yeah, I want this, but it all seems a bit magical. What would you say to them?
If I was trying to persuade somebody to go on the diet, do you mean? It's difficult. It's difficult with family and friends in particular. Everybody seems to have their own way through life, their own path, as it were. I think you've got to lead by example if you want to convince anybody or point them towards somebody else. I mean, I've pointed you to quite a few people, whether they followed it up or not. I think I do have family members who have had a look at your page, I think, and Dr. Berry and Dr. Shafi. You see, going to the broader picture, I personally think that there's so many ways. Well, I'll start again. The world is full of ill people. I think that's the bottom line, to varying degrees. And in particular, I think, our politicians and people in positions of power have a tendency, they're narcissistic, they're probably psychopathic, sort of people who shouldn't really be in the jobs. They're at the top of the tree, all the way down. I mean, if you see what's happening in America and the UK too, as regards politics, the number of people who I would personally say, you are sick, mate, get yourself on the carnivore diet, because I truly think that if everybody did the carnivore diet, not only would it would do big pharma out of the business, and it would do big food out of business, because let's face it, these people are killing us, why should we let them? So I think that, the trouble is, you see, you've got so much anti-publicity that, it's like, I think I messaged you once about this meat business and, the way they're trying to take meat off the market because meat is killing the planet and all this crap. I mean, global warming, all of it. It's a imaginary tale. It's a fairy story at this minute. So overcoming the propaganda is the biggest problem. Overcoming the media, because the media is just lying front and centre. Hopefully we'll be able to use YouTube for a bit longer and the internet. So hopefully people like Elon Musk, I mean, there's a lot of hope from his quarter. What he's done with Twitter, X, it's possible, but it's a matter of curing people across the world, isn't it? How do you do it? It's a hell of a job.
Yeah, definitely. So if people want to reach out to you, John, do you have social media or an email address or something where they can get in contact?
Yeah, my email is John, Jon, at mrstripey.com. That's mrstripey.com. I do have a web page. It just goes onto my Facebook page, mrstripey.com. So, but that's related to my ice cream business. So it's nothing. I've got no Carnivore logo or site or
Yeah,
whatever.
you're not selling carnivore ice cream yet.
No, that's the one thing I feel guilty about. I'm peddling ice cream to all these people. Hopefully they'll have a tolerance for it. But no, I mean, it's something I've thought about, but you can only do so many things in a day. I mean, if I was to start doing a site such as yours, I can imagine it take up most of the day, most of your waking time. But yeah, we'll always, get in touch email.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, John. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Dave, and thank you for all you're doing for all of us. That's appreciated. Big style. Oh, another one. Big shout out to Chicken Little because he said to buy an air fryer grill, and that's been an absolute godsend. It really has.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Chicken Little, and yeah, it's well worth.
2 minutes.
Yeah, we should sign off with his sign off. This is Chicken Little signing off because I eat very little chicken. So, yeah. Thank you
Take
so
care,
much,
Dave.
John.
All the best, mate. Take care.